Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the horror show.
Yeah, it is. That's Marcia Parker, and I'm Jaime in Fuego, and we are rounding out a ton of patron coverage that had kind of backlogged over the last couple of months, and this is for the April poll, and we are talking, well, it's deaf in an interesting sort of fashion about none other than Dagon, which is a H.P. Lovecraft-based story, and once again tackling Lovecraft sort of stuff. You've got Stuart Gordon, produced by Brian Usna, but Stuart Gordon had previously done Reanimator, which was, the Lovecraft story. He had done From Beyond, Lovecraft story. So this was his third crack, if I'm not mistaken. And the budgetary constraints very much show in this particular film. It was made in Spain, and lots of the extras and some of the supporting, villager cast are... I'm not going to say they're bad, but this film all too often really showed its budget, and with the exception of a few scenes in particular, most notably a flashback that I thought was very effective, I did not like this movie. I watched it many, many years ago, and the rewatch was yesterday, and aside from the notorious skinning scene, without really getting too much into it, that's what everybody talks about this film for. Aside from that, I was reminded why I don't really dig this one that much. What did you think, though?
Yeah, it's not what I was expecting at all.
This was the first time watch then.
It was a first time watch, and I'm not a
this
big
is my
fan
second time
of these
watching
type
it.
of movies. But yeah, it really felt low budge, and I don't know, the storyline kind of really bothered me. I didn't care about the lead characters whatsoever, and the village was kind of like you said, the backstory was more interesting than the current story. So
yeah, there's one flashback where you figure out what happened with this seaside village, and that was captivating. Everything else, not
was
so
rough.
much
It
for
was
me.
really hard to watch. And then there was that really graphic scene that unfortunately I had children in the room at the time when it was happening, so I had
really?
to fast forward it. Oops, sorry.
Oh, so you didn't see the full it's slowly done, and really,
I mean, it was almost by the time I got to the remote, it was basically over anyway. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, children, that's all fake. Yeah, movie magic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't let it torment
They're
you.
used to it by now. I can't. They're my children. So
No, you were teaching them well, Marcia.
in some circles,
I'm not
say
poking fun.
It was fine. But no, I don't know. As you can tell, I'm hesitant to really talk negative about it. But
I didn't hate it either. I didn't hate it either because from a storytelling standpoint, I like it.
It wasn't my bag, really.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of it, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, when you
the
realize...
ending is actually relatively satisfying the way they tie everything up.
Yeah.
So... And that actress, I thought, from a performance standpoint, even though she doesn't get a ton of scenes until later in the film, I thought she was very effective. Yeah. Spanish actress who looks kind of like Christina Ricci a little bit, because I was just watching Monstrous the other day. But yeah, I mean, if we're gonna give overall thoughts and just conclude that portion of the segment, I enjoy aspects of this movie, and yet it does in a lot of ways feel like a missed opportunity because of the fact that it could have been a lot better. I feel like the story and the mythology is really strong, and that's because it's H.P. Lovecraft, but the execution and the fact that this was the lowest budgeted of any of Stuart Gordon's HP adaptations, and it really showed, and especially with some of that CGI, like the squiddy tentacles coming out at a couple different points of mouths of characters and whatnot. So, I don't know, it was also kind of poorly edited in my estimation, and so that was another thing that really hindered it. So.
Yeah, tone is everything with movies, obviously, and nothing landed for me.
Yeah, it felt very, very kind of blah, like meh, sort of bit.
Yeah, like I said, the backstory was the best part.
And also the fact that I don't, I'm with you, Marcia, I do not like our lead character who we follow throughout the majority of this. I didn't think his performance...
Two possibilities.
I didn't think his performance was very good, and even the plight of him now when they tie things into origin stuff, I thought that was cool. Yeah. But once again, that was no reflection on his performance. That was just, everything else that was going down. But so just to segue in the story, we're going to keep this brief as we often do with these patron reviews, in the fact that so you have a presumed, like, I don't know, investor, like, of sorts, a corporate sort of nerdy dude who is with
one big with stocks, something like that.
Yeah, who's with this woman named Barbara, and she's a pretty blonde, whatever, and he's on this boat, and you don't really get a lot of context as to who the older couple on the boat with him is, but they're there chilling. I would assume like investment buddies or something. And so they take on some water after crashing into a rock, and a storm is rolling in, and so they have to go to the seaside town. Seaside town is filled with, I don't even want to say a cult, I want to say like a sect of the worshippers of a sea god of sorts, and so that's where you really get your Lovecraft sort of stuff, and it really just turns into said investor guy trying to rise to the occasion and not be so wormy, and actually rescue not only his woman, but discover the secrets and the craziness of said society. That there is a fisherman that helps him out along the way, and is he's the mouthpiece of the most interesting portion of the film, where he's giving some context about why these people are so crazy. And at this point, I've seen so many films based on this particular Lovecraft story where, okay, you've settled in a spot where you can't grow, crops, you can't fish, you can't whatever, and so you make a bargain with some sort of sea deity, and, they help you out, but for a price. And, I mean, Off Season was a film that I just watched recently on Shudder, which was really good, but dealing with the same shit, dude. Mm-hmm. And so it's a common thread, thank you, HP, and all of your racist nonsense. But it didn't feel fresh when I first saw it, and it definitely didn't feel super fresh, at least right now. But there were still, from a storytelling standpoint, especially in the finale, like you mentioned, like that's where it was like, okay, that's relatively satisfying in its morbidness, most notably where one character falls into the blacky, goopy water and is like just saying kill me, because I don't want to be impregnated with Cthulhu's nastiness or whatever. So I don't know, it's once again, as I said, a missed opportunity in a lot of ways, because there were good ideas in play.
And another thing that threw me was a 2001 movie, but they very much made it feel like it was an older movie, like in this.
Catherine
like,
said the same thing when we were watching it.
Yeah, you didn't feel that?
Well, I mean, most notably with the telephones and stuff, like, I mean, how
dilapidated
the entire island was. Yeah.
Well, no, just the whole feel of the movie, in the tone of it, and how people were acting, and how they
or
sounded.
The lack thereof, the fact that a lot of them weren't even speaking a lot of the time.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching Night of the Living Dead almost, but
with some of the makeup work, I can definitely understand that.
So that kind of threw me a little bit, because I'm like, I feel like it should have been a little bit fresher than this, a little bit more modern, but it was probably on purpose considering the material. But
and the fact that it's supposed to be this isolated island, off the coast of Spain, and the fact that they've been doing their own shit for quite a while, with sacrifice and lack of technological advancement and all that different stuff. But yeah, I mean, we've touched upon acting and the lack thereof, unfortunately. I still think that the girl with like tentacle-y kind of legs, I thought she was effective. I thought the fisherman was effective, but it all falls to your lead, and the fact that the lead, in my estimation, just was not.
He was a likable person, dude. He wasn't even.
He wasn't even likable initially, and sometimes you have that transformation, that like cycle where you grow to appreciate. I never really found that with him, to be honest. So
there have been movies where the lead, you're supposed to hate the lead character, but it was just like not even enough to redeem it. It was just like, I just don't want to. I'm sorry.
Isn't it better to love or hate than to just feel indifference to somebody? Right. You're just like, whatever.
Well,
he's there.
There's two possibilities. Wait.
There's always a weird gray area in the center in that regard.
Well, that was his thing. Every like fifth line he had was, well, there's two possibilities, either this or this, and then from there are two more possibilities. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he was supposed to be the epitome of book smart, and granted, he does kind of get some gumption as the film goes on, which I guess I'll give him some credit for. Yeah, well, he's gasolining people and fires and silly shit like that. But, yeah, from an effects standpoint, I will definitely say that I enjoyed not the CGI when we saw it. Goddamn, was that pretty awful. But Yeah, some of the gore, most notably, the face peeling, and then there's a few other segments, most notably where there's a character who has been impregnated by said creature, and she's like cutting her womb open and stuff. So, and there's a few other dismemberings where like intestines are falling out. Like that, like the practical when we saw it, I thought was pretty good. The makeup on these possessed like villager sort of people was really,
It was really bad.
really cheese dick shit, man. You know,
really
not good. But
well, it didn't make sense because they were like skinny people, right? And then, I guess that was later. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, that was in the third act.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I will actually give credit to where the aforementioned flashback where dude is basically like, let's reject the Christian God, let's worship Dagon, and he's got this weird like gold like sort of outfit on, with a crown, and I thought that was really dope. And there's also a similar sort of attire that is worn by our spaghetti-legged lady, at the very end of the film that I thought was cool, and she was very effective. I will give her lots of credit, that particular Spanish actress. But aside from the pluses, like there is still a missed opportunity with the adaptation of this, and for me the familiarity of the fact that so many other people have actually done a similar story better at this particular point. It's one of the toughest things about this film. So man, I mean, you would think Brian Usna, Society, and Stuart Gordon, who did Reanimator and From Beyond, that they would have made another just banger of H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. Didn't happen. Kind of a bummer.
They needed more money.
They definitely needed more money. They made this shit on the cheap. It's like, is it worth making a movie with such high ambitions if you can't give it proper? I don't know.
No, like you have to find another way. Like if you don't have the money to be as big as you want it to be, then you're gonna have to. It's gotta come somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's why they shot it abroad. It's why they went to another country for financiers, because they just couldn't get the ball rolling, and they were obviously very adamant about it. So
yeah, they wanted it done. So
yeah.
All right.
And also Dagon, like the poster dude with the teeth, he's in one scene in the movie. Spoilers. Right. Sorry, he's in that one scene with the half-flooded sort of room, and so not what it's particularly about, and kind of a disappointment, unfortunately. But what did you guys think about Dagon? Have you watched it? Are critical assessments a little bit too overbearing for you guys? Let us know in the comments below. Greatly appreciated. Patrons appreciate it as well. Rad status, awesomeness. And we're going to wrap Shizzle up because we have a live stream to do. So a grande gracias. I've been Jaime and Fuego.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And remember, stay scared.